Hi, and welcome to the Twisted Stitcher podcast. Today is Wednesday, February 18th, 2015, and this is episode 12. I already have a title for today's episode. We're going to call it WIP Smackdown. You guys are about to find out why. I hope you guys have had a really great couple of weeks. I know that I certainly have. It's been busy, but all in all pretty good. Not a bad couple of weeks. I've gotten a ton accomplished. And I'm so excited to share everything with you. So let's just jump right into it. The first thing I hope you'll notice is this beautiful piece I'm wearing. We'll jump right into finished objects. I finished my hitchhiker. You guys have seen this on just about every episode of the Twisted Stitcher podcast since I started it back in September of last year. And it's finally done. I looked back at Instagram, and it looks like I've been working on this for about 27 weeks off and on. I'm so happy with it. It turned out so nice. This is the Hitchhiker by Martina Bim. I knit it out of Unwind Yarn Company Journey Sock in her Making Memories 2014 colorway. That was her special colorway from the Into the Wool retreat from last year. I'm so thrilled with how it turned out. I ended up getting 36 points. So it did pretty good on the size. I washed it. I blocked it. It blocked out huge. Here's this end. Here's this end. So it turned out super big. It turned out way bigger when I blocked it than unblocked. So if you have a hitchhiker and you're not totally thrilled with the size of it, try blocking it. I bet you'll really like it once it's blocked. So it is a little bit hard to get it to, lay quite right, but I'm so happy with it. I've worn it a couple of times to school, gotten some compliments on it. Everybody that's seen it has really liked it. So that's the Hitchhiker by Martina Bim. Definitely go check it out. It's a really easy pattern and looks a lot more complicated than it is. But I did enjoy it. I don't know if I'll knit another one because it did get a little bit, I don't want to say boring, but maybe just a little bit monotonous there near the end, but it's done. And I'm so glad to have a wonderful finished object to share with you guys. I do have one other finished object. If you remember from a couple of episodes ago, I talked about the baby sweater that I was knitting for my friend that's expecting a baby. This is the Piccolo Sandro baby sweater. It's by Emma Facio, and it's finished. Isn't it so cute? It's so tiny, so adorable. The sweater is a one-size sweater. It's supposed to fit a newborn baby. I knit mine in Crystal Palace Mini Mochi, and they just give their colorways like numbers, so it doesn't have a fun colorway or anything. So I'm really hoping that this will fit my friend's baby when she gets here. But it's so cute. I'm so happy with the way it turned out. I took it with me to Spinning Guild on Sunday, and the ladies just went gaga over it. They all wanted the pattern. It is a free pattern. You can download it on Ravelry. Again, it's the Piccolo Sandro baby sweater by Emma Facio. So once I finished this and my hitchhiker, I had no active whips. I couldn't believe it. I think it was the first time since I've been knitting that I didn't have anything on the needles. So I was plagued with choice. I didn't know what to cast on next. I'd been doing a little bit of dyeing experimentation, and I dyed up this skein that I knew would sort of be a reward for once I finished all my whips. So it doesn't have a name yet. It is super vibrant. Lots of pretty colors in there. Sort of a speckle dye, so there is some white, and all the colors sort of bled together to give you new colors. It really just came from 3 different colors of dye, but you end up with really a rainbow of colors. So I'm not sure what I want to call it yet. My first thought was Fru Bait, because if anybody knows Wendy, Silly Fru, this is right up her alley. Rainbows, brights, super fun colors. So this might turn into Fru Bait. We'll see. So that's my Twist Fiber Studio Ashland Sport Weight yarn. It's a wonderful yarn with a nice sort of tight twist. I'm really enjoying working with it. I cast on the Good Day Boomerang by Susan Ashcroft. And I've gotten a little ways into it. So this is what it looks like so far. It's also sort of an asymmetrical, triangular shaped, sort of wedge shaped shawl. There's two different versions of the pattern. One has the pattern stitch all over, and then the other is broken up by sections of stockinette. So I hope you guys can see. But it's a 4-row repeat in the textured stitch with slip stitches, and then in between you have sections of stockinette. So I really like the way this is working out. I can knock out a repeat really, really quickly because it's still small. I know that once it grows, it's going to take a lot more time to knock out those repeats. I do really like the edging on it. It's a combination of slip stitches and knit front and back, or purl front and back. So I really, really, really like this. Again, this is the Good Day Boomerang by Susan Ashcroft. It's about €3 right now. And it calls for basically a single skein of sport weight yarn. I'm sure, too, that this pattern could easily be translated into any weight yarn. You could do it in fingering. You could probably bump up and even do it like in a worsted and get, a really cozy shawl. So, yeah, Good Day Boomerang by Susan Ashcroft. That's my only WIP right now. I've kind of been focused on this and working really hard. So I did want to share with you guys, I have a tiny bit of stash enhancement. I was able to work out a partial trade for something that I've wanted for a really long time. Oh, and the Good Day Boomerang is hanging out in my Rainstorm Studios project bag. This is Rainstorm Studios. She will be at Into the Wool. This is Christine. She is out of Florida. She's going to be vending at the Into the Wool retreat, and I got this bag with the little matching notions pouch. This really has turned into one of my go-to bags. It's the perfect size for a one-skein project. Zippered top, the little notions pouch is perfect. I can put both of them inside each other. It's a perfect set. So make sure and look out for her at Into the Wool, and check out her Etsy shop. Again, that's Rainstorm Studios. So back to my stash enhancement. Something that I've wanted for a really long time. Has been slightly out of my price range. I got some new bobbins for my mini spinner. I have a Cherry Hanson mini spinner with a woolly winder, and I got some new Cherry woolly winder bobbins. I actually ended up with 3 bobbins. I came across somebody on Ravelry that was destashing these bobbins because they're switching over to the Acreworks, the 3D printed bobbins. So we started to talk, and we discussed some different options, and we worked out a partial trade. So I gave her some money and some product. She actually ended up with one of the perfect pair sets from the Kickstarter that I had left over from a dropped backer. So she was thrilled to get that, and I am so thrilled to get these bobbins. I've always felt really stuck with my mini spinner with just having the one bobbin. I was stuck just spinning that one braid of fiber. So now I have so many options, so many plying options, so many spinning options. So happy. Cherry mini spinner bobbins. These usually run about $50 each. So not a cheap investment. I'm thrilled to have these new bobbins. Hooray! I want to share with you guys a couple of new patterns that I stumbled across in the last couple of weeks. The first is a really pretty shawl. It's called the Perhaps. This is by Melanie Berg. It's about €4.90, so around $5 US. Calls for sport weight. It's a 3-color shawl, and my local knit group, we might actually be doing a knit along for this. Hopefully. Oh, you can kind of see it there? Let's see. Let me try it from the other side. Da-da. Sorry, guys. I've been playing with the lighting some. Okay, that's pretty good. So you can see it's sections of striped stockinette with lace panels in between. So it calls for 3 different colors of sport weight. And it's called the Perhaps by Melanie Berg. So definitely go check that out. I also queued a new pattern. This is so cute. As many of you guys know, I have a mini Doxie named Maggie at Dachshund. And weenie dogs are notorious for being little cuddle monsters. She always wants to be in the bed under her covers. And when she's not under her covers, she's shivering like a crazy little thing. I've tried putting like store-bought sweaters on her before, and she doesn't like them. I think just the way that weenie dogs are built, they have a really deep chest and really short arms, and they just have kind of funny proportions. And I think that they get a little bit too tight under her little arms, so she doesn't like store-bought sweaters. So I found this pattern called the Worst Warmer. Worst like bratwurst, because they're little weenie dogs. And it's a weenie dog sweater. So it's made specially to fit weenie dog dimensions. It comes in a variety of sizes. I actually had my boyfriend help me measure Maggie to make sure that I knit the right size for her. It's knit in sport weight yarn, and I am so super duper excited to knit it out of something new. It's a new Twist Fiber Studio yarn, and it is self-striping. So I've been playing around a little bit with self-striping yarns, trying some different techniques with self-striping, and I'm excited to knit this up and see how it turns out. It is sport weight. It has a section of turquoise, and then sort of a plummy purple color, and then a charcoal gray. And the way that the stripes will go is it'll be the turquoise, gray, plum, gray, turquoise, gray, plum, gray. So every other stripe will be the gray. So I'm really excited to knit this up for Maggie and see how it turns out, and hopefully the self-striping will go well, and it may be something that I can add to the shop. I'm still sort of perfecting my technique with the self-striping, so it may just be sort of a limited edition, here or there sort of thing. It may not always be a mainstay. I did do another ball of self-striping. This one is going to Michelle's Fibers, and it has wide stripes of fuchsia, wide stripes of turquoise, and then narrow stripes of variegated. And the variegated has the fuchsia, turquoise, and where they meet, which is kind of like purples. So I'm sort of thinking about calling these like divergent skeins or divergent self-striping, something like that, where you have the two color solid stripes, and then in the middle will be variegated with what those two colors melt together to create. So kind of another concept. I'm excited for her to knit this up and see what it looks like. So another Twist Fiber Studio self-striping. I've been busy at the dye pots, as y'all can tell. For this week's discussion, if you remember last time, I told you guys I wanted to talk a little bit about some podcasts this week. Podcasts have been a huge part of my knitting life, and I hope that, of course, since you guys are watching this, that you enjoy podcasts too. So some of my favorite podcasts, listed in no particular order, are The Knit Girls with Leslie and Laura. They have a weekly video podcast, so they publish usually on Mondays. I also really enjoy Just One More Row with Dana and Brittany. They have an audio podcast, and they are actually the first podcast that I listened to. They are who introduced me to knitting podcasts. I went back to the very beginning and listened to every single one of their episodes, and I actually did that again last year during my Florida trip. When I was stuck in the car by myself for 10 hours, I listened to Just One More Row. They are awesome. They're a bi-weekly podcast like mine, and they come out with new episodes on the 1st and the 15th. I also am a huge fan of Knitting in Circles with Amy and Darren. They are a video podcast that usually comes out, it used to be about once a week, now they're going to more bi-weekly. They're really, really funny, and especially too because Darren's on there. He's a man, and he knits, and they're so funny. They talk about all the stuff they get into and all the things that they enjoy. So that, again, is the Knitting in Circles podcast. Another one of my favorites is The Dyer's Notebook with Laura. She is Jinx Yarns, so she's the dyer behind Jinx Yarns. She also hosts a video podcast, and hers is usually weekly, sometimes bi-weekly. I really enjoy her podcast because she does talk a lot about dyeing, as well as sort of the business side of indie dyers. So she's been a great reference with starting my business. I do also enjoy Yarn Raising with Malia. She also is a video podcast. She, I think right now, is on a little bit of a hiatus. She's had some life changes, so she hasn't been podcasting much lately, but hopefully she'll be back super, super soon. She's about every other week when she is podcasting regularly. I also really enjoy the Kitchen Stitches podcast with Summer. She is an audio podcast, and she podcasts once a week. Summer lives in Texas, and I had the pleasure of meeting her last year at Into the Wool. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that she might get to come back this year, but I don't know. Her daughter's starting college here in my home state in North Carolina. So even if she can't make it to Into the Wool, hopefully we can catch up sometime when she's coming up to visit her daughter. There is the wonderful Sassy Pants Knitter podcast with Wendy, aka Silly Fru. She's a video podcaster. She podcasts about once a week, sometimes every other week. Another new favorite is the Handmade podcast with Tara and Misty. They're actually really close to me, just about an hour away from me in Johnson City, Tennessee. They're a relatively new podcast, and they are bi-weekly, so they come out every other week, generally. And it's a video podcast. Tara is really, really smart. She used to have her own yarn shop, and now she focuses more on business development, motivation. She does some different workshops around. And then Misty is also a new indie dyer. She has some really pretty stuff in her shop. It's Misty.yarn. Another one of my favorites is the We Are Yarn podcast with Amanda. That's Mandy Cat. She's a video podcast, and she usually podcasts about every other week, sometimes as much as weekly, just depending on how busy her schedule is. Another favorite one is Caffeinated Knitting with Daniela and Allie. They are also a video podcast, and those two are a hoot. They are so funny. Daniela used to host the podcast just by herself, and then recently picked up Allie to join her. They both live in Tennessee, and they are co-coordinators of the Into the Wool retreat, so I'll get to hang out with them this fall. They podcast usually about bi-weekly. And then one of my final favorites is Spin Control, and it's hosted by Shiloh. It's an audio podcast, and she podcasts about every other week, sometimes about once a month. Her podcast is really, really enjoyable too. She's been podcasting for a long time and has really shared her journey of knitting and learning to spin, all of her moves, all of her life changes. So that's been a fun one to watch and listen to as well. That's just a short list of some of my favorite podcasts, and that I have a whole tab in Ravelry devoted just to podcasts. There are so many good podcasts out there. If you don't watch podcasts regularly, I urge you to check out some new ones. Add them to your weekly thing, even if it's just listening to one on the way to work or as you're cooking dinner, anything like that. It can be a great way to brighten your day and sort of keep your knitting mojo going. I know that certainly helps me. Sometimes I'll turn on a podcast first thing in the morning, 30-minute podcast, and knit for 30 minutes, and it just makes my day so much better. It's a great way to sort of ease into the day. So podcasts are wonderful. Go and check them out. I'd like to give you guys an update on the Kickstarter. So the Kickstarter is almost done. Well, I guess I should say phase 1 is almost done. That includes all of the single skeins of yarn, single braids of fiber, and the 100 perfect pair project bag sets. For the last couple of days, if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen all my posts about the Twist Fiber Studio shipping and receiving headquarters. Well, that's what it's been. My office has turned into the shipping department. I packaged up over the last 2 days about 200 packages to go out, and I plan for them to go out today. It's possible that they might. The weather here has been really dicey. We got hit with an ice storm on Sunday, Monday, and then it stayed really, really cold, and then now it's snowing again. So I don't know what's going to happen. I saw already that they called off school for the rest of the day. Usually I have class on Wednesdays, so yay, that allowed me to record a podcast. So we'll see. I might get by the post office, I might not. It really honestly depends on if my boyfriend gets home from work and can drive me there, because I don't like driving in bad weather. I do have about 30 more rewards to finish up for that first wave, and I hope to get those done over tomorrow and Friday so that they go out either in Friday or Saturday's mail, because I really want everyone to receive everything around the same time. I have one colorway left to dye of the perfect pair sets, and then just a few things here or there as kind of fill-ins that either got missed or weren't quite perfect. I'm really picky about what I send out to you guys. If it's not perfect, I'm not going to send it to you. And if I wouldn't love to receive it, I'm not going to send it to you. So with that being said, if anybody gets a reward that they're not totally thrilled with, please let me know. Please let me know what I can do better, what I can change. And if you're thrilled, let me know that too. I'd love to hear, what you're working on with your new Twist Fiber Studio yarn. I'd love to see how your fiber turns out once you spin it. So everything's been going great with the Kickstarter. I'm going to meet my goal. I've kept my sanity for the most part. So it's going really great. The next phase 2, will be all of the surprise perfect pair sets, and I have about 30 of those to create. So luckily I've got through April to deliver those rewards, but that's going to be the bulk of what March and the first part of April is finishing up those rewards. With that said, I do want to go ahead and tell you guys that I plan to launch my Etsy shop, hopefully, fingers crossed, don't quote me on this, but hopefully on April 1st. I'm thinking with the first phase of the Kickstarter rewards being done, I'm getting into a little bit more of a groove with my new school schedule, that hopefully I'll have some time to dedicate to dyeing things for the shop, developing repeatable colorways, experimenting with all my different bases of both yarn and fiber, and just getting everything ready for the shop. You guys don't know this yet, but I do have more bases than just what I've offered through the Kickstarter. That was one of my stretch goal components, was that if I was able to reach a certain level in funding, that I could add more bases to the shop. And I actually have, to start with, 8 different yarn bases and 10 different spinning fiber bases. So there's going to be tons of different bases for you guys to choose from. For yarn, I have everything from fingering weight up to bulky weight. And then for spinning fiber, I have about 5 different single composition fibers. So like merino, Falkland, Polworth. And then I have 5 different blends. I'm super excited to have a merino bamboo blend, a Polworth silk blend. I can't wait to spin some of that myself. I have a superwash merino nylon blend for socks. I have a mixed BFL. I've got some really awesome fibers for you guys, and I cannot wait to get to the dye pot and let some of these colorways that have been stirring around in my mind, get them on yarn and get them on fiber, and then get them into your hands. So hopefully keep your fingers crossed for me that I'm able to get some dyeing done and ready to launch the Etsy shop come April 1st. So yay, big announcement. Awesome. School is going well. I'm adjusting to my new busier schedule. As I told you guys before, since this is technically my last real semester, it's full of capstone classes and lots of projects, lots of really long papers. One of my classes has 3 or 4 group presentations where we have to work in small groups outside of class to develop a presentation. And it is so hard coordinating schedules. It's unreal. And especially, I work really hard on everything that I do for school, and I take a lot of pride in my work for school. And not everybody is like that. And it's frustrating knowing that your grade relies on other people's effort. And when they're not putting in the same amount of effort as you are, that's incredibly frustrating, especially coming from a type A person. So I'm adjusting to that and trying to be more flexible and more, more understanding, and I guess just realizing that sometimes I'm going to have to carry the weight of a group and make it happen. So you guys kind of keep me in your minds on that. It's a little bit stressful, but all in all, it's going pretty good. My one class that meets on Monday evenings, we've been in session for 6 weeks now, and the class has only met 3 times due to weather. And this is the class that we do all the group work in. So that hasn't helped any at all. We have a presentation on Monday, and we haven't even been to school at all this week yet. I haven't left the house a single time this week. So hopefully the weather will clear up where my group can get together and get this stuff done. So school's going good. I know that I'm almost done. With being 6 weeks in, that means I only have 10 weeks to go. Then I get a little bit of a break, and I have my last 2 classes over this summer. So I'm almost done. Yay! So that just about wraps up this episode. I do have a couple of announcements. Don't forget that our contest is still going for the month of February, which is for the set of stitch markers and your choice of either the needle felting kit or the cross stitch kit. For that contest, all you have to do is go into the contest thread and tell me about your all-time favorite project that you've made. It can be knitting, it can be crocheted, it can be a skein of hand-spun yarn. It can be anything. Just show me, tell me about it, show me a picture. I'm excited to see what you guys make. You do have to be a member of the group to win, and if you'll just post once, that'll be great. It makes it a whole lot easier for me to draw for a winner. Don't forget, too, that the sweater knit-along is still going strong. I did want to introduce some new rules. So I know some people were thinking that they might have issues with the deadline, with having just the 4 months to knit their sweaters. I totally get that. You guys know I'm not knitting my sweater right now. I actually ripped it out, and I plan to dye yarn for my sweater. So I don't really think there's any way that I'm going to get done by the April 30th deadline either. So what I'm proposing is to make it a sweater knit along all year long. So what we'll do is, for anybody that finishes a sweater in the first 4 months of the year, so January, February, March, April, all you have to do is go and post a picture of your finished sweater in the contest thread, and you'll be entered to win a prize. You can knit as many sweaters as you want, as long as they were started after January 1st, 2015, and finished by April 30th, you'll enter in that first round contest thread. For every 10 entries, I will add another prize. So then, say if there's 12 entries, there will be 2 prizes. So hopefully that's some incentive for you guys to knit up some sweaters. We'll have the second round that runs May 1st through April 31st, and then the third round from September 1st through December 31st. Even if you cast your sweater on January 1st and you don't get it done till December 15th, you can still enter in that last round of contest thread to be entered to win a prize. So hopefully this gives some additional flexibility to everybody that, there's no real pressure to finish it. But 2015, I know a lot of you guys, your goal was to knit a sweater in 2015. And hopefully this is a good incentive to get it done. I know I still plan to knit a sweater. There's actually a couple of really pretty new sweater patterns out there. One is the Dirty Martini by Ella Torrente. It's a brand new pattern. It's just about to release on the 21st. She has it on sale right now for about $2.50 as a pre-release special, and it uses worsted weight. So I might actually end up doing that one for my sweater. I think it's all about finding a pattern that you really get excited about, finding yarn that you're totally excited about, and then finding the time to knit it. So hopefully with those 3 variables, we can all bust out some sweaters. So make sure and go check out the thread in Ravelry for the sweater knit along. I'll be updating the prize rules for that hopefully later today. So make sure and throw your finished sweaters in there to be entered for a prize. I think that's about it. I do want to let you guys know that I have a really fun contest planned for next month's giveaway. But I'll tell you more about that on March 1st. You have to wait. But I think that's it. I hope you guys have another couple of great weeks. If you're up north, I hope you guys are able to dig out of your snow and are able to get out and about. I know it is no fun being cooped up in the house for days on end. So good luck with the weather, everybody, and I guess we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thanks for watching. Oh, hope you don't drop any stitches. Bye, guys.